What is up everybody, I'm Tephrite, a top 500 support main, and today I want to give you guys 30 tips to help you rank up as Juno. Juno has only just been released, so hopefully I can shed some light on my approach to her and help you guys win more games. Some are for beginners, but there's definitely some tips for advanced players, so be sure to watch all the way through. If you have any questions or think I missed something, I stream on Twitch almost every day and I'd be happy to help. Right, let's get into some tips. First up, Juno has one glaring flaw. Apart from Zenyatta, she's the only support who doesn't have any sort of self-sustain, meaning she cannot heal herself. However, also like Zenyatta, majority of her health is made up of shields. Shield health is a specific type of HP which is regenerative. All you need to do is be out of combat or wait a few seconds without taking damage for it to begin regenerating. This regeneration does actually stack with the healing passive, meaning that Juno heals exceptionally fast while it's out of combat, allowing her to regenerate almost her entire health bar in under 5 seconds. Something you might have already picked up on is Juno gets a little speed boost when casting her hyper ring. This applies to everybody around her, and passing through the ring doesn't actually increase your speed boost. However, it does refresh the buff's duration. So when coming out of spawn, don't shoot it directly at the ground, but rather shoot it farther away to make the most out of the initial boost and the refresh. Juno's primary fire is a burst hit scan weapon, which means the damage she applies comes out immediately. However, it does feel slightly delayed due to it being a burst fire weapon. This means you should not lead your shots like you would with Kiriko, but instead use a more tracking aim style like with Tracer or Soldier. Juno fires 12 pellets per round, so using this method will allow you to land more shots. Unlike most heroes, Juno cannot headshot with her primary fire, be it on a teammate or an enemy. Because of this, you want to be aiming at the torso, primarily the shoulders or the stomach area of the target, as that tends to be the widest point in most character models. Doing this will help you land more blaster bullets. On the same topic, Juno's primary fire has different hitboxes, which is actually similar to Ana. The hitbox is a lot more forgiving when it comes to healing your teammates. However, you do need to be right on the money when you're aiming at opponents. This might also be why you feel like you're hitting your shots on enemies, but not actually seeing their HP change. Contrary to popular belief, Juno's pulsar torpedoes do the same amount of damage no matter how many targets are locked on. However, the closer the target is to Juno, friend or foe, the faster the lock-on will trigger. Even with this in mind, you probably don't want to be super close to players. However, this does mean it'll help you in 1v1s against a flanker like Tracer or Sombra. Although Juno's glide boost is a horizontal boost, you can use your double jump charge whilst it is activated to add some verticality. On top of this, you can also slide up on a ton of surfaces whilst glide boost is active. So get creative, as you can probably reach a lot more high ground positions than you initially thought. All you need to do is press shift and glide on a slightly angled surface. Sometimes even jiggling back and forth into a surface can also do this. Sometimes you might be caught with your pants down whilst using glide boost. In case you didn't know, you can cancel your boost early by pressing the shift button again. If this feels uncomfortable to you, you can change it to hold down shift rather than toggling it on and off. This all comes down to personal preference. I prefer the toggle, but there is a setting which I prefer to hold down on, which I will explain later on in the video. Juno's torpedoes do an initial burst damage or burst heal, depending on who it hits. On top of this, if a teammate is hit, it also applies a healing over time effect to them. Knowing this, you can use her torpedoes on both your target and your teammate, giving you the perfect opportunity to go and focus on damage for a bit and apply extra pressure to your opponent whilst your teammate is getting passively healed up. Juno's ultimate works in a similar way to Zenyatta's. Whilst it outputs a ton of healing, you are not invulnerable and can still die when inside it. Be mindful when using this against an Ana, as players tend to play a lot more aggressive when the ult is up due to the damage boost and healing. A simple anti-nade can put your team in a very bad spot, out of position and caught with their pants down. A good thing to note is that unlike Zenyatta's ultimate, you don't actually need to be in line of sight for the ult to actually heal you or damage boost you. As long as you're in the ring, you will receive the buff. Sadly, whilst Juno's torpedoes are lock-on, it can be dodged. Since Juno needs to expose herself to begin the lock-on, accompanied with the actual travel time of the projectile, which is quite long, it does give a lot of time for the enemy to go behind a wall, shielding them from the damage. Thankfully, this doesn't apply to your teammates and will follow them through walls. Unlike Kiriko's papers, which I'll be honest, makes no sense at all. Always reposition. There's no ideal spot to be in, like Ana in the backline, as her drop-off makes her a lot less effective at farther ranges. Her healing also has damage drop-off, so keep that in mind. Different parts of her kit are at their most effective in different positions, be it up close or far back. As a rule of thumb, you want to play in the sweet spot around 30 meters before the drop-off kicks in. However, you don't want to play too far from your team, as this will make it easier for flankers like Sombra and Tracer Tracer to pick you off without giving your team a chance to help you. Being out of the line of fire can be quite beneficial in order to trigger your shield gen and healing passive. When using her glide boost, she will automatically duck down or boost up slight elevations, so don't worry about cancelling your boost too early. Speaking of glide boost, it does lock your movement horizontally, bar what I explained in the previous tip, which makes your movement insanely easy to predict, thus making it easier for the enemy team to land shots on you. Be mindful of this and mix up your left and right movement to help dodge shots. There's a lot that goes into movement and dodging, but the best tip I can give you is to try and time your strafe changes with the enemy's reload or recharge. This will make them miss their initial shots, and from there you can mix up your movement to throw off the rest of their spray. This one isn't quite a tip, but if you didn't already know, Juno's blaster actually displays a happy or sad face depending on if she's looking at a teammate or an enemy. Your pulsar torpedo's max lock-on range is about 40 meters, so any further than that and you won't be able to use the ability at all. If you step out of Juno's ultimate, there is a lingering buff that stays applied to you for about a second after leaving the ulted area. So don't worry too much about staying exactly in the lines, as there is a lot of wiggle room. Since Juno doesn't have any self-healing, try to be familiar with the health pack locations around the map and play next to them. Since you have 2 movement speed abilities, this will allow you to quickly engage and speed directly to a health pack if you find yourself getting low. You might have a Tracer hunting you down and waiting for your shield and health regen to kick in, which can make it too risky to just wait and hide behind cover, so speeding to a health pack is a lot safer. As I teased previously, there is a setting which I prefer to have as a hold instead of a toggle, and that is for Juno's pulsar torpedoes. The reason being, by default, you need to begin the lock-on, wait for it to finalize, and then left-click to confirm the shot. Turning this setting off means that you just need to hold down right-click to begin the lock-on and let go of it to either fire if someone has been locked on, or just cancel the ability. Besides the ease of use, this can allow you to get in a cheeky shot if someone were to peek at the very last second. Although Hyper Ring does look like a projectile, it can't actually travel through shields, and thankfully, D.Va's annoying defense matrix cannot eat it. Just like every hero in Overwatch, Juno has her bad matchups too. Winston and Tracer are both really good against Juno, especially with the health changes. If you see a Winston diving you, try to time your shift boost with the boop from Winston's landing. This will push you further away from Winston and might save your life. This works with any boop, however Winston's jump is the most predictable boop next to D.Va's. If you're going to use your glide boost, try to save your double jump whilst you're boosting. You can still single jump, but saving the second jump will give you more flexibility in your movement whilst you're horizontally locked, so that your movement is a lot less predictable. When using your pulsar torpedoes, the original cooldown is 10 seconds. However, if you fail to lock onto any target at all, the cooldown will be cut down to 2 seconds. If a target begins to lock on for even a millisecond, the cooldown will return to its original 10 seconds. Overwatch has a max speed boost cap of 75%. This applies to anyone, including Lucio and Junker Queen. Juno's glide boost applies a 50% speed boost, which is the same as her Hyper Ring, meaning if you use these together, unfortunately you will be losing out on 25% of your speed boost. Sometimes this might just be necessary if you're in a tough spot trying to dodge damage. Knowing this, try to spread out the boost out of spawn if you know your Lucio is about to amp or Junker Queen is about to use Shout. Juno's skill cap comes from her movement, so if there's anything to focus on improving, let it be your movement. Since she has no self-heal or get out of jail free card, you need to be able to dodge incoming damage and be unpredictable with your positioning. Juno's pulsar torpedoes don't necessarily have to go to their target. When locked on and traveling, if another enemy is standing between the projectile and the enemy targeted, the torpedo will hit the player in front. Although hard to control, this could be used to burst down a target quicker. You might see a lot of higher ranked support players swap to Lucio on some maps to speed their team out of spawn. If you swap to Juno to get this same advantage, unlike Lucio, you actually retain your speed boost after swapping back to the hero you want to play. For maximum value, you can actually swap to both Lucio and Juno to get the maximum speed boost possible. I previously mentioned how pulsar torpedoes were good against flankers. Well, when 1v1ing a Tracer, the torpedoes do actually chase Tracer through blink, but not through recall. So if you use it early to force her recall out. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. If you guys want a more in-depth guide on how to play Juno, I do plan on making one in the near future, once I've had a bit more playtime on her. If you're a support player who also enjoys playing Kiriko, this video on screen has 25 tips that can help you up your Kiri game. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below or ask me on Twitch. If you found this at all helpful, be sure to subscribe and share with a fellow Juno enjoyer. Peace.